For the honor of Grayskull, I am... Why does she grab the blade like that? Why would she teach people that it's okay to grab the blade like that? So, as some of you may have gathered from my expertly written sketch, I watched the new She-Ra. And, She-Ra was a hot button issue. Because everything in fandom and sci-fi right now is, like, super politicized, which... Okay. Everybody was upset that they were rebooting She-Ra, and She-Ra didn't look like She-Ra. They were saying that she looked far too masculine and muscular, and a lot of people were saying that she looked like Ben 10 and stuff like that. And I never really saw that in She-Ra, the new one that came out from DreamWorks, that I think premiered yesterday. I'm not certain. It's the first time I saw it. I watched it as soon as I saw it. What I always saw in the design of She-Ra, this new one, is that she looked younger. And the thing is that the younger you get, the less gendered you look. That's just the truth. Girls and boys develop kind of pretty much the same way up into puberty, and then puberty is the process of becoming what you will look like as an adult. So all these people, they don't look like she doesn't look like she's misgendered or anything, or she doesn't look like she's trying to inhabit another gender or anything, or that she's designed to inhabit another gender. She just looks like a young person. And I was always fine with that, like even down to like cute, like she wears like bicycle shorts under her skirt because, she's still a girl, and that's, moms and dads, they feel a little bit more, comfortable when you put a set of shorts underneath a skirt on your child. It makes sense. Everything just seems to skew younger with this whole thing, and that's fine. No, does she look like She-Ra? No, because She-Ra, was extremely tall. She had the silhouette of a woman. She was very obviously an adult, somewhere between 25 and 35, probably. And the writing that I saw in this new She-Ra very much reflected that. These are all very young people. I would guess around 16. 16 is about where I'm going to go with this, especially if you look at somebody like Bow. Because, women have a tendency to stay shorter. They don't all stay shorter, but they have a tendency to stay shorter. And, they are all Bow's, they're supposed to be Bow's same age, and Bow is still their exact same height, and they feel smaller. They have adult mentor characters who aren't older, they're just taller, like Glimmer's mom, which, honestly, the dynamic between Glimmer and her mother and all that, I think worked, but it spoke to the overall problem with this She-Ra. Because there is a problem with this She-Ra. I said from the beginning that it didn't matter if they made Bow black. It didn't matter if they made She-Ra younger or more masculine or whatever you interpret that to be. None of that mattered. What mattered was that the original She-Ra was a story about a freedom fighter. And it was super interesting, and it tied into the He-Man universe, and she started off actually as a villain, and there were great complexities with everybody that she interacted with from that point on. And then she gets the Power Sword, and she becomes She-Ra, and she's a hero, and it was all very interesting, very good, and it wasn't patronizing to kids who are watching it. I said from the beginning that it doesn't matter any of the changes. What matters is that they make it, whether or not they make it good, the same, or worse. If they make it good, excellent. There are plenty of problems to solve with She-Ra. One problem that they solved: She-Ra doesn't have a split personality, a secret identity. There's no reason for She-Ra to have a secret identity. There never has been. I'm actually watching She-Ra right now, and the only reason that she does is because He-Man told her that she can't tell King Randor and Queen Marlena. He just said that, and she was like, "Okay, Adam, I'll trust you." That was it. And he holds that secret. He holds the secret of He-Man from his parents, also for no reason. So they fixed that. It's an alter ego. It is more like a split personality, because she's kind of alien when she becomes this new She-Ra. She's imbued with power, possibly wisdom beyond her years, and she doesn't feel like herself. And that's a really interesting way to go with it. So, better, the same, or worse. If they make it better, great. They fix problems. If they make it the same, there is no reason. They make the same quality. They obviously weren't going to go the same direction. If they make it the same quality, no reason to make the reboot. Okay? If they make it worse, it's a little bit of an insult to the legacy. So, I say a little bit because I don't care when a reboot comes out and it's worse. If you like the original, go watch the original. The new one doesn't ruin the old one. Anyway, did they make it worse? No. Did they make it the same? No. Did they make it better? No. What they did was they did some good stuff, and they did some bad stuff. And those two things meet in the middle. It's a narrative that's much easier to follow. There was a lot of weird writing in the 80s that we kind of give the 80s a pass, and we're like, oh, it was the 80s. They didn't know good writing then. I mean, lots of really good books written decades, centuries before 80s cartoons. I think a lot of it was being done fast, and nowadays we have a distribution model where we can actually take our time and release things in big batches, like they did with She-Ra. I haven't watched the whole thing yet, by the way. I haven't watched the whole new season. The narrative is much simpler to follow. However, it's Gen X so random, and that really undercuts a lot of the action elements for me. That everybody is like, this is going to make me sound really old, but everybody is totally tubular. Like in the 80s, they were trying to make everything like Surfer Bro, that part of the counterculture that was being marketed in the mainstream as counterculture, which makes it mainstream. Everybody has this persona that it's like, oh my god, adventuring is so hard. Like, everybody's like that. Except for Bo. A lot of people were worried whether or not they were going to play identity politics with this one, and they didn't. Everybody... I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm saying if you were worried about it, it didn't happen. But everybody has that kind of like, oh, I can't even kind of thing going on all the time, except for Bo, who just screams everything. He yells absolutely everything. The other thing that made more sense in the original She-Ra was that everybody was an adult. And I know they're trying to do this whole thing, oh, the kids can, do it too. Well, the thing about being a kid and understanding your own childhood is accepting certain limitations. That's the point of being any kind of person. And they made them all, like, whether or not they are kids in the story, they didn't say anybody's age, but they feel like kids. They still look directly up to their parents. Glimmer gets grounded, so pretty sure that they're kids. The thing about She-Ra, the original She-Ra, is that you never questioned that these people were capable of doing the things that they're doing. Okay? They all appeared to be very strong, very skilled, very capable adults going on adventures. And these feel like kids in the new one. We have evidence that they are capable, all of them being young warriors in this conflict, because they go and fight and do incredible things, but to a certain degree, because of their own undisciplined manners and their own apparent youth, it doesn't feel justified, is the issue. And I'm not saying that you can't make great stories about kids having adventures and doing things. You can. You absolutely can. But they're not your elite commandos. They're not your first line. they're often kids, going in, getting in over their heads, and maybe surprising their mentors, coming into their own. And we start with Adora being promoted to Force Captain. She's already reaching the upper echelons. We don't see it. That's another problem. There's a lot of stuff that's explained but not seen in this new iteration of She-Ra. We hear talk of Glimmer actually leading assaults and stuff like that, despite the fact that she herself is kind of one of the goofballs. And that speaks to another problem, is that everybody's a goofball in this. Okay, everybody gets a little life check, and that's the way that you see that everyone is equal in this show, that they are a cohesive team, Bow, Glimmer, and She-Ra. Well, not so much She-Ra, but Adora, because She-Ra is, so far, I've seen, I think, 2 episodes, She-Ra is used pretty gingerly, and I imagine that they're going to continue to do that, which is probably going to be a good thing. But the way that you see everybody is equal is not through their successes, but through their failures. They're bumbling into one another, they're making the wrong calls in situations, and it all feels like a comedy of errors. And that just was never She-Ra. She-Ra didn't feel that way. It had jokes in it, but She-Ra didn't feel that way because She-Ra was fantasy adventure. And this is trying very much to be sci-fi. When they find the Sword of Power, they don't call it a mystic object, they call it First One's tech. Okay, everything is technology. They have stripped away all the mysticism and fantasy elements in an attempt to make it more realistic when it's She-Ra. Ultimately, I think that this was neutral. If you like the old She-Ra, which I'm going to say that I prefer the old She-Ra at this point, if you like the old She-Ra, go watch it. If you've got young people in your life, your kids, your nephews, nieces, whatever, who want to get into it, I'd say go ahead. There is nothing, I would say go ahead and encourage it. There is nothing damaging about this. It doesn't really talk down to the kids. I would say that comparatively to a lot of other programming, it's got pretty good vocabulary in it. Like, it assumes that the kids will either use context clues or ask somebody what it means, or use their phone to look it up. When it comes to even simple stuff like what the characters are saying, and then there are more complex relationships like the one between Adora and Catra, which are much more well defined. Some people, I'll tell you this right now, some people are going to get upset that Catra is always jumping on She-Ra, or is always jumping on Adora, and they're going to be like, oh, they're pushing sexuality politics. And the thing is that Catra sleeps at the foot of Adora's bed. She's acting like a cat, okay? A cat. Get your mind out of the gutter. Thank you. But yeah, not terribly damaging. When it comes to which one's better, pick your poison. And vote your conscience. And that's really all I have to say about that. But I would love to hear your comments on the subject. After all, that is the word from just one nerd. Like I said, leave a like, a comment, subscribe if you must. I know some of you really can't keep your fingers away from that button. So there's going to be some more videos, and there's going to be some more prescriptions. Prescriptions? I was going to make a wax on, wax off joke, but even now as I'm talking you see the buttons here, but I said prescriptions. So everybody, consult your doctor about subscribing.